Yeah, we heard about you. Mark showed us where you were standing.
Oh, wow, okay. That's nice to know.
Keep up good work.
Oh, see you on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is part of my district, so I gotta.
It'll be
Down up
interesting.
there a lot.
I think Dorsey.
There's hardly any music, unless it's bluegrass.
Yeah, actually Mathews and residents here.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm at Blatch and I also listen to bluegrass. Not too
my friend Jason Reberg is going to come up and introduce the various folks who are reading this evening. I wanted to let you know when our next reading is. And so the next reading after this will be August 20th. Darren Dean and Andrew Lincoln University. And Andrew actually is from Lynn, Missouri. And it will be different because it will be an evening of fiction, which we don't normally do, which doesn't mean open mic people can't come do poetry as well. So that's the next event. It's April 20th. That'll be at 6 o'clock. We already have an event set for September, which is September 17th, which I will remind people about. And that actually is probably going to be something around 15 different people, including our former state poet laureate, Karen Crago. And so that'll be cool. And Brenda Linkerman, who is normally here with us, who can't make it this evening, is going to be doing her book launch reading here in November. So that's what I know right now. And so without further ado, I will just let Jason come welcome everybody up here myself. So my friend Jason Reberg, everybody. Woo!
Does anybody here play keys? I like a little accompaniment. I'm sorry. Feel free to use this, not use this. My name is Jason Reberg. I am a resident here at the Osage Arts Community, which, if you guys don't know, is a residency program that has been in existence for close to 20 years. And I came here 6 years ago, thinking I was going to do 3 months. And now I'm on the board of directors and the phone plan. So it can happen. It can happen to you.
You can get on the phone plan.
You can get on the phone plan. And when you're up here, I think we are competing with some things. Use your lungs, project. Forgive me for being pretentious, but just we got traffic and wind, and we are recording tonight. This is going to our YouTube and then our Facebook page for Barb's books. And CD Bailey?
Yes.
CD Bailey is a trash? Oh, you scratched out trash.
I did.
Come on. CD Bailey is a poet from Wheelsburg, Ohio. His work has been featured in various literary mags and journals. His debut chapbook, Bastard, is available through EMP Books. CD Bailey.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I've got the read from my phone here. So here's some news stuff. This poem's called "The Kids Stay Out While the Streetlights Are On." Talking about seeing devils in their doorways, fathers tucking children with a fist, smoking mothers' menthols, a baby won't stop crying, teenagers creep out of the windows to fuck, and a dog's left chained to a fence, and he just won't shut up. Tweakers howl and swing their bodies. Horny boys ask other horny boys about blowjobs and their favorite porn, make jokes about fucking each other's sisters. The dog is still barking, their sneakers hanging on the electric lines. Jesus still doesn't wash their feet. A dog starts biting its chain and breaking its teeth. A baby won't stop crying. A mother won't stop shaking her baby. There's a devil in the doorways. The teenagers dirty themselves, crawl back through the windows. They already know how to make themselves quiet. A father tucks with a fist. The streetlights stay on. Nobody really sleeps anymore. The howling never ceases, never ceases. The chain rests around the neck. The dog never gets its day.
Nice.
Here's another new one called "The Invention of Consuming." Started with the fruit in perfect reach. His mother can't stop crying. Nipples barely leaking. A family needs groceries. Food stamps are late to load. There is no bread, no body of Christ to swallow. With hunger like this, it takes more than prayer to fill these stomachs. The dog always gets the food that's already been touched. A father does not think his boy is beautiful. He is just a boy. Saturn is always hungry. Mother accidentally breaks the yolk, flipping eggs. It's a rush to eat the fruit before the rotting. Mother breaks the yolk and she hasn't stopped crying. Saturn's stomach rumbles, a baby teethes on the leg of the dog. The milk is backed up, mother covers her nipples. Old man kicked out the recliner. We know what this means. Don't talk while the game is on. The grease is still cracking. There's too much fat on the bacon. Fruit is just out of reach. Saturn is never satisfied. Food stamps never on time. Baby spits out dog hair. Dog begs for scraps. Keeps the tail still. Gets fed a boot. There's no milk and no bread. And the EBT balance is the same as the week before. And the week before that, the dog can't hide its rib cage. The fruit has a little sweetness left. A mother rubs an orange on her baby's lips. She eats the peel. Tastes like the last time she's been kissed. The dog licks the fingers. Saturn is never satisfied. I'm going to read some stuff from my debut chat book. Through EMP Press, EMP Books. This poem's called The Summer of 2015. In the summer of 2015, my bones could barely hold this body, and I was familiar with house fires, and I knew all too well how to clean dead flies out from in between the window panes, and my bedroom was filled with stink bugs. The summer of 2015, I fucked for the first time, and I was still familiar with this sadness, the burden of growing into a body, not unlike the maggot into the fly, turning a brain into an algorithm of chaos. In the summer of 2015, I never told the girl how much I missed her in science class when she was absent, or how she could make even a gun beautiful. I am digressing. It was a tragic summer, one where the sun could have exploded and not a damn thing would have changed. This poem's called A Great Giant Bomb. Little boy is afraid of the furnace, but understands that this thing will hurt him, but it is necessary. Little boy has seen the end of the world. It's always getting closer. Even the sun is a bomb, and bombs have only one purpose. The future can't wait to see little boy, and future sounds like an excuse to keep going. The future is patient, and it will always be. The sun doesn't need permission to end everything. That's just how everything has to happen. And it's terrifying living under a giant bomb next to a dirt river. Little boy understands the way water rages, and that bombs only have one purpose. And while he knows that this thing can hurt him, it is necessary. This poem is called A Horse Breaks Its Leg. We know what has to happen next. America. The horse's leg is always breaking. The gun is always loaded. The hands are always shaking. In 1956, America needed God. Michael Rockefeller swore he could make it. Neither of these things were true. After America, there's been nothing left to conquer. Imagine Rockefeller fighting a river, swore he could make it. Nobody knows where his body is. Oppenheimer becomes death. The world before the bomb no longer exists. Still stuck somewhere between God and splitting atoms. A bomb, a horse breaks a leg, somewhere there's a gun. Michael Rockefeller swore he could make it. In 2001, America wept, the world wept with it. A horse is dying, there's going to be a gun. Michael Rockefeller swore he could make it. Oppenheimer eats the world, gravity is still a theory. Sisyphus learned to love the rock. There was once a world before the bomb. Horse breaks its leg, we know what has to happen next. In 1941, America cried with Lou Gehrig. They named the disease after him. His nickname was Iron Horse. We all know what happens next.
Right.
This poem is called The Relationship Between Machines and Human Beings. He tells me there are too many people in the world. Bad things are always going to happen. I once was an earthquake, broke my mother in all the ways that God makes women break. He tells me there are too many people in the world for bad things not to be always happening. A car is God to the deer. A surgeon plays with the brain, says this is a thing to be conquered. I am a deer with the brain turning into light, a thing to be conquered. I once removed my brain and replaced it with ripped off fingernails. I have no more fingernails. Everyone is a plastic bag holding metal, driving tanks in parking lots, eating raw fish from a can, collecting a paycheck. and tell me there are too many people in the world and that it is impossible to stop bad things from happening. Let me end it off with one more here. This ending of my chapter. So all the kids are going to go far, right? The world is a feral and ugly beast, but it loves you. The world is a feral and ugly beast, but it loves you. The world is a feral and ugly beast, but it loves you. The world is a feral and ugly beast, but it loves you. The world is a feral and ugly beast, but it loves you.
Christophee Bailey. That was wonderful.
Thank you, thank you.
Is it J.I.B. or Jim?
JIB.
J.I.B. is a prose poet from Portsmouth, Ohio. His work has been featured in various journals. This latest book, Our Tiny Little Lines, was published by Alien Buddha Press in October of last year. Jay.
What's up, everybody? These first couple poems I'm going to read are mostly from a chapbook that I'm working on now. This one's titled Outside a Gas Station, East Jesus Nowhere, United States. Air toxic with the reek of ethanol and other people's cigarettes. A horde of faces, tattooed, ugly, sometimes but not often beautiful. A man begs for spare change or a smoke or a phone call, high on methamphetamines or maybe gold spray paint, and just beyond that are the power lines by the overpass where the teenagers need to smoke and fuck, tied strays together, their tails, shoelaces, hang them on the wires like dirty sneakers. And beyond that are the railroad tracks where the drunks and children are regularly mowed down and popsicle crucifixes are buried in the mud their bodies landed in. And maybe bodies isn't the right word, but what was left of them, and a lot of that soaks into the dirt. And beyond that are the bars that my father's been kicked out of and the alleys he's been jumped in. And beyond that is another city, another gas station, another man trying to make a phone call. Other cats claw each other to death on the power lines, and other teenagers meet and smoke and fuck. Other bars, other fathers, the whole planet over. The air is toxic and the fathers are drinking too much beer, and the trains are screaming and the cats draw their last breaths. Alright. This one has a very short title, very concise, nothing over the top. Charlie Manson and violence in the United States prison industrial complex and how they correlate. How cancer cells form tumors, how if you beat a dog long enough, maybe it will learn to be loyal, how orphan newborns can die from being unloved, how Charlie needed a haircut, how the infrastructure is crumbling, how dysfunction breeds dysfunction, how we're products of our environments, how the part of the brain that tells an animal it's being attacked and when it's in danger is necessary, how nothing prepares you for combat but combat, how our fear is our power, how there's going to be a war, how Charlie said he did what he could with what we threw away, how sea turtles need to be able to fend for themselves from birth, how birds raised in labs won't build nests for their eggs, how children repeat what they see, how they believe what they're told, how tumors affect the body, how Charlie was born in prison and died there, how he asked an interviewer to imagine what it'd be like to be interrogated by the SS, how if you beat a dog long enough, maybe it will learn to be quiet, how you take someone's power, how it's 10 p.m., do you know where your children are, how America has violence and drugs and what they plan to do about it, how we lock up and how we throw away keys, how a dog chained to a dirt yard learns to lie in the dirt, how cage rats will eat each other, how at this rate one day there'll be more of us in than out, how Charlie said every man in prison was his father, how a child repeats and believes what they're told, how Charlie said he has many children and we gave them to him, how he asked an interviewer to imagine what it'd be like to be interrogated by the SS and what he meant when he said it. How a beaten dog sharpens its teeth. How nothing prepares you for combat. How sea turtles learn fear. How we lose our power. How cancer cells form tumors. How tumors affect the body. How a dog chained to a dirt yard will learn to lie in the dirt, and for how long. How there's always going to be a war. How America has violence and drugs. How we lock up. How we throw away. How a child repeats, how the part of the brain that tells an animal it's being attacked and when it's in danger is necessary, how it's 10 p.m., how we don't know our children, how dysfunction breeds dysfunction, how the infrastructure is crumbling, and what I mean when I say that, more of us in than out, how if we beat a dog long enough, you'll see what happens. What excited, am I reading that one or read that one? Okay, on to shit from the book. Called Tiny Little Lies. It's the only book on some of these days. Damn it, what was I reading out here? Who knows? I'm gonna go ahead and read. Okay, how many of you motherfuckers here were prescribed Adderall as a child? Anybody?
I take it recreationally.
Take it recreationally?
That count.
I'm gonna wing it because I lost what fucking shit I was reading. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be taking it recreationally these days, but to each their own. Yeah, I'm staying out of my mind right now. Alright, this is titled "A Dead Horse." You're a child and there's something wrong. There's always something. Always crying and never stops talking. The teachers say. The doctors say there's medication for this. Your mother says nothing. Your mother nods. A horse breaks a leg. Your mother fills your prescription. Your mother tells you to take by mouth twice daily on a full stomach only. The horse takes a bullet to the skull. You, a child, there's something wrong. Always something wrong. There's a smell of vomit always and never crying or talking or sleeping, eating or thinking, nothing. Only fragments, only vomit and medication and wrong. You were a child who was always crying and never stopped talking. Now you aren't. You avoid conflict any cost, the teachers say. The doctors say the medication is working and you're a child, or you were. You're no longer a child. You're still taking medication. You're still taking anything given. An empty stomach. You avoid conflict, avoid conflict, avoid conflict. You avoid conflict, avoid conflict, avoid conflict, avoid conflict, avoid conflict until there's nothing but avoid conflict, vomit, medication, nothing wrong, a dead horse.
Wow.
Alright, I was debating on whether or not to read this one, man. This is a fucking poem. There's sexual assault shit going on here. Trigger warning. Sometimes people get mad after reading this. This is titled, Can You Keep a Secret? If you have to bruise, it's best to do it under the skin. This allows for all the necessary pain and the blood, but you can keep it a secret. It was cold and the air was dry, and my friend told me her mom's boyfriend has his way with her and her sister, and maybe her other sister too. And her mom knows, and she caught him once in the laundry room. And sometimes she hears them fight about it when she's pretending to sleep, and sometimes the fighting ends with the sound of them fucking. And before that, she told me she cut herself and showed me. And before that, she told me she wanted to die and tried to. And if you're going to cut yourself, prepare to always wear long sleeves, or alternatively, only cut where no one else will see. Before that, she asked me if I can keep a secret. And before that, we were in a yard of dirt, and it was a different friend. I won't tell you his name. We were in the yard of dirt, and we were digging a hole. He told me his brother made him suck him off, and we laughed about it. We were digging a hole, and we didn't know why, and when we were done, we repacked the dirt. After that, years even, me and my friend and his brother were in a room at 3 a.m. The brother was crying because he made my friend suck him off, and my friend barricaded the door with his spine, and me and my friend cried because the brother was crying, and we were crying as quietly as our bodies allowed. And after that, my friend started wearing sunglasses even indoors because his brother blacked his eyes. He said he knows how to keep a secret. Bruising is a particularly ugly sin. If you're going to do it, it's best to do it where no one can see. This is titled Self-Destructive Behaviors in Human Beings and Other Animals, or Bipolar 1. In the absence of a loaded gun, or a razor blade, an overdose, a prescription medication, or a carefully tied noose, the rabbits make do. A rock big enough to batter their bodies against, the lack of air at the bottom of a creek, the impact that follows a leap from the edge of a cliff. It's instinct. We know the body can be transformed into a prison too small to squeeze ourselves into. There's a science to this. Rats eat themselves alive, starving dogs stand in living traffic, a human being trapped inside a building in the process of burning down jumps from the window without hope of a safe landing. Today, I am the Antichrist. Tomorrow, I hate myself and don't want to talk. There's a science to this that no one understands. Alright, I'm gonna cut down to the last poem. This is the last poem I wrote here recently, and it's kind of finished off a chapbook I've been working on. It's titled American Culture and Its Consequences. Unicorns are mentioned in the Bible, but America isn't. I'm an unmedicated bipolar. If I go to an automotive manufacturing plant, if I kiss a couple windshields with a baseball bat, I will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. My views on gun laws have been radicalized. My views on everything. I'm unmedicated. America isn't mentioned in the Bible. We only talk about police brutality when we see footage of a man being murdered. American culture has consequences. My views on everything have been radicalized. People admit to molesting their children on Dr. Phil. Fuck with the lights off. Kill in public. I'm an unmedicated bipolar, and if I go into a gas station in Memphis, Ohio with $300, I can walk out with a gun. We hate junkies and feed kids Adderall for breakfast. If I go to an automotive manufacturing plant, if I kiss a couple windshields with a baseball bat, I might not make it out alive. America and its consequences. I'm an unmedicated bipolar. If I walk into a gas station in Memphis, Ohio with $300, I can kill in public. In 2020, the NRA spent $3 million to influence gun policy in the United States. Oil companies spent over $12 million to bust the earth open like a windshield, kiss a baseball bat, to bust the earth open like a windshield, kissing a baseball bat, to suck it bone dry. I'm bipolar, I'm unmedicated, I can get a gun for $300. America isn't mentioned in the Bible for a reason. Culture has consequences. My views on everything have been radicalized. I think we should take all the guns, start at the police stations.
Nice.
If you happen to want to buy my book, hit me up. I got some out there to take. Got poetry!
Empower yourself. Empower yourself.
Didn't work.
You just set them further down the
I
stairs.
did. Started scurrying.
Steer them with the power of the word.
That's right. Are you ready, sir? Tim Heerdink collects board games, poets, sometimes he feeds them. An answer to the world's problems, which he forgets to write down in the morning. He's the author of Final Flight, As the Fog Becomes the Night, on Inspire, Soliloquy and Trauma in the Not So Well, Cajun Mud Press, The Human Remains, Bird Brain Publishing, and 8 chapbooks. He is co-editor of The Grindstone, editor-in-chief of Last Lights Press, and the president of the Midwest Writers Guild of Evansville, Indiana. Tim Heerdink.
We're just going to say he was author of every book in Evansville.
Every book in Evansville.
How's everyone doing tonight? It's nice to see you all. My name's Tim Heerdink. I'm glad to be here with such wonderful people. Jonathan Baker and I have a new book out called Contemplating the End of Insomnia alongside a postmodern mausoleum from EMP. And I'm going to read some out of that along with some others. This one is called I Used to Think. I used to think that I knew darkness until the night my journey took me to Belle, Missouri. I used to think there was always someone to blame other than me. I used to think people didn't die young, but I've been proven otherwise. I used to think all the shit happened only to me, yet now I see everyone suffers. I used to think there was no light waiting in the distance, or how I was wrong. I used to think after my mouth found itself open and I must apologize. I used to think before thinking became too much like unnecessary trouble.
Nice.
So, an interesting story on the way here. I haven't read this poem, not probably ever, but there was a police officer that turned his lights on to pull someone over, and like this camper pulled over, like maybe it's me or I'll get out of the way, and it wasn't him, and so other people got out of the way, and this person who I think was the person shot all the way to the left and just zoomed off, and like I guess the officer was like,
gave up.
I give up, and we all cheered like, "Yay, you got out of the way." I've been pulled over for some petty shit, like speeding a little bit over the speed limit and I see people going way faster than me. I'm like, oh. So this poem's called Clockwork. Tick tock, goodbye my thoughts. How is anyone supposed to concentrate when it's just minutes before noon and all you want to do is fill the void inside you with food? That circular tormentor on the wall with his hands up like it's about to get shot by a cop whose britches are just too big, just too trigger happy to be a symbol of peace. Maybe I should watch out as I go out to eat. Perhaps I will be driven by my hunger to feast, which triggers my lead foot to become heavy. Sign says 60, but I'm going 70. Red and blue illuminations in my rear view, and soon I discover that the sirens are not a part of my tune. Hopefully, he does not get antsy when he sees that I have a license which is pink and back up underneath my seat. Stopped on the side of the street, I see Mr. Brown Pants all high and mighty coming toward me. I would like to say, fuck you, asshole, but instead, I put on my fake face, which seems to be my only face anymore. Interesting note also, I don't have my guns anymore because I didn't trust myself with suicidal shit. But in Vanderburgh County, in Evansville, where we just came from, anybody can have a gun to carry, no matter what their background was. Indiana, the state of Indiana can have a gun, no questions asked.
Constitutional carry.
So, yeah, no worries. Everybody's just going to be breaking into cars looking for guns now. Let's see what else. I tried to be funnier in this book. That was not one of those funny.
It was hilarious, man.
This one's called What They Want You to Believe. Australia is real. The earth is round. You have purpose. It wasn't an inside job. A man landed on the moon. Those Australians aren't actors. Mandela didn't die way back when. There's such thing as privacy. We are free. There's no chance we'll end up like those British criminals dead in the sea. It didn't happen anyway. Nobody falls off the tail side, except maybe the Australians, because they do in fact exist. The elections are fair. Every vote counts. Just look how they do it in Australia. That one got stemmed off of a joke conspiracy that Australia is some made-up country. And when people fly to Australia, they just go around in a circle and land back in a different country. This one's for John Dorsey. It's called I Thought I Saw John Dorsey. In the mix of the crowd, I thought I saw the hair. Through the darkness of a mere moment, stood here in Indiana, the land of corn and meth, a poet, friend, lover of fried chicken, the man himself, John Dorsey. I thought I saw John Dorsey with a chaff in one hand and maybe a wing in the other. It was hard to tell in my confusion. Sure, the guy gets around, but wouldn't he give a ring first? I could be wrong, as I often am, but I swear on the lives of chickens everywhere, I thought I saw John Dorsey. They better prepare themselves.
I would normally use one hand for chicken. I throw the book down.
We had National Fried Chicken Days.
Yeah, it was a couple days ago. I had someone randomly send me $50 and tell me to go get fried chicken.
That's awesome. Yeah. This one was published in the Gasconade Review. This is my book, Final Flights, The Fog Comes Night. Came out from Inspired in February. Kind of deals a lot with the onset of the pandemic, but also the grief of losing my mother to brain cancer. This one's called Paper Man. I'm just a paper man someone cut out and left to blow with the wind. You're of ivory, the finest white that shines like little fairies on the summer eve. My crumpled parts torn on the edges need mending and a break. Your hollow space can give the shelter I need. Get me out of this rain. This one's called Temporarily Fresh. I believe it's also on the It's 2:30 and I'm sitting here listening to the last hacking of blades upon blades before winter comes with its frost. I think of fruits forgotten, now rotten, dangling on weakened stems, waiting for the final fall. They could have been pies or cobbler, like Mom used to make before the earth claimed her. Pears, apples, pecans, and blackberries decorate the trees and brush, and like others I refuse to cut. Countless times staring at the blank page have I jumped like the end has finally come to find pecans descending on my tin roof. I'd like to think it could be Mom trying without fail to awaken me, saying, hey, it's time to collect. Our world provides for us. We should be thankful before it's our time to return. This is my first full length called Human Remains. Deals a lot with mental health and a variety of other things. And this one kind of deals about my brother-in-law. This one's called Why They Call It a Shoot. There once was a time where death came with a bang, stemming from the smoke of the unholstered barrel straight into your thick, flavory gut, so you can bleed out or be consumed from infection. One didn't have to be such a great marksman back in those days. Air brought its own weapons to the table before modern medicine came with its cures. Not everyone likes their picture taken. It's bad luck, my brother-in-law would tend to say as he covers his face from the snapping screens, which always seem to be out and ready. Photographs lack the importance they held in the past. Portrait well prepared by a professional with a busting bowl takes more effort than wonky expressions pretending to be happiness for nobody but the cloud to see. Smiles are forced for the quick flash because each shot taken takes another little piece of identity until eventually there is nothing left but dead eyes staring forward like a phantom from the past. The shirt here. This came out in November from Cajun Nut Press, so I know Korean trauma and not so well. Deals a lot with nightmare sequences and mental health and abnormal things. I had a lot of weird dreams. I don't get enough great sleep. But yeah, I just kind of did some longer forms here with the lines and whatnot, so that's why I got this cool square. The Grindstone, I want to plug the Grindstone, I guess, real quick. I became a co-editor with the second issue, and we'll be taking submissions near the end of August, question mark?
No, beginning of
August.
Yeah.
So, yeah. This is a poem from the first issue called War of Occupations. There's a divide, yes, in the ideology of the nation on what a proper way to make a living. Some are more hands-on and build from nothing all a community needs for the turning of wheels. Others serve with low wage with hopes to become something bigger with time. Why should an electrician hate on a man for furthering his education? The psychologist puts down a custodian while a poet stands by and writes the truth. We're all useless without others. This is a short one after William Stafford. It's called A Dark Return. As I travel the interstate linking the capital to my southern town, a maroon Rorschach paints the concrete with blood. Buzzards circle overhead with their prey dying or already past. The black ahead of me hides what may hinder my course. I imagine the fawn in its stiff mother's abdomen, a decision to be made. Here's my final poem. The pit of despair I have in my nightmare landscape and my depression and whatnot that I've been dealing with on an ongoing basis. I've been thinking that people were all against me and I should just quit and give up on everything and gotta keep moving on, keep doing the thing. Tell yourself that the voice in your head really isn't telling the truth. It's all a lie. But sometimes I find myself here, and this is the bit called the Not So Well. There was a time when I stood guard like one of those Brits in their furry hats without any emotion, just doing my duty as a good gentleman should, never looking elsewhere but straight ahead of me. The cruelest taunts always failed to break my gaze with posture not unlike the great rustic cross which held the alleged Messiah long before this time. One afternoon, while busy at work, a storm cloud blew. It pushed me into the not-so-well, where the not-so-well often dwell. I thought I knew all the tricks on how to escape, but it seems that I may have been in this place for longer than I think. All around me there are weeping shadows, endless rain, no help to make the climb. It's much too steep even for the most experienced climber of which I thought I was. The well fills, and it fills with the tears of the crying and undying sorrow. Another man down in this well asked me, "Don't you know you did this to yourself? Like my hands held the shovel that dug this hole we both find ourselves." That's when my mind went blank for a brief period. I came to with the man lying on the bottom. I noticed that I am still digging the hole. Thank you.
Man brings a t-shirt of his own books, like a pool player brings his own pool table.
Yeah, but is it a t-shirt where he's in a bathtub?
That's true. Anyway.
That bitch is the best promotion in the world.
Exactly.
Truthfully.
Jonathan S. Baker. Is he ready?
Yeah.
All right, lives and works in Evansville, Indiana. Alongside their dog and is overwhelmed by guilt and anxiety. They are the author of Cock of the Walk, Laughing Ronin Press, and Flowers for Forest, Last Lights Press. They are also the co-editor of The Grindstone and the editor-in-chief at Pure Sleaze Press. I gotta edit some of that. That's awesome. Jonathan S. Baker. You need this one.
Yeah, I've got it.
All right.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, hey.
I really appreciate everybody letting me be here because I am not like y'all are real poets, and I'm just a guy that likes to write poetry, and I'm happy when y'all let me come along. So, this book, this is headwork. A few years ago, I started writing like on a schedule, and this book kind of came out of that. And I didn't know what you were supposed to do with poems because I didn't have any friends that were poets. And so I put them into a book and just put it out myself. So, and this I think is the first poem I wrote when I decided to sit down and write poetry. This is like a hole in the head. I was skeptical at best when she first came to me expounding the benefits of self-trepanation. The increased blood flow, the oxygenation, the euphoria, the express tick to enlightenment. Nothing else had worked though, and it seems to do work for other folks. So I did a little research and had a couple consultations and shopped the job around, and I finally found someone to do a little pinhole, and it was kind of nice. And my baby got one too, and it was pretty smooth. Then shit, I thought, step it up a notch, double lot. Why the fuck not? Let the love of the whole entire fucking universe and all the inhabitants in. I found this far out broad with a boutique shop downtown who could get that hole punched, and it was good. What they don't tell you, or maybe I wasn't listening, is how that hole affects the people around you, jealousy and insecurity and the questioning of what's so great about the hole. Or how much effort you gotta put into that hole. Brush your teeth, trim the nose, swab the ears, treat the hole. If you just let it ride, infection gets inside. It turned out, I guess, not to be for me. I tried at least. I mean, I put my skull, Rita's, my heart on the line. Made myself open, vulnerable. That should count for something. Anyways, I got that hole plugged by that same broad. She was kind enough to help. And life is good now. Different, good, better than life previous to the hole. But shit, if sometimes I just don't miss that goddamn hole. There's another one of those, like, I just threw it out myself. This is performance anxieties. And put this out earlier this year, and it's just about writing poetry mostly and performing. This queen of the Paradise Lounge. She isn't selling her body. She is commanding an audience. As 80s hair metal rocks on, she shines perfect under the dancing light and shadow. Attendees make offerings. And with a smile and a touch, she makes it clear whose gifts please and just how much, and she glides on heels sharp as knives. She lifts and swings, displaying herself, her beauty, her strength. Her eyes are prowling the crowd for an admiring face, one who will be her supplicant. When she leaves the stage, she knows her mark and greets him like a beloved friend. Some words are exchanged, and she guides him by the hand to a backroom altar. She rises above him and places him below, each in their station. Softly, she lets him know, right now she is in control. Gently, she dictates when to touch, what to touch, when he's gone too far, and if there's a point too far. She whispers sweet permissions into his ear, makes him feel special, so dear, so loved, in that moment of wild romance, all the way to the end of the song. Alright. This is Cock of the Walk, released by Laughing Arm Press, and what happened is, last year, Tim? I released another couple of small books, and Tim was like, can you do a third in another month? Like, Tim challenged me, so I was like, fuck yeah. And I was like, I'm going to put all my penis poems together into one book and call it Cock of the Walk. And I put it out on Amazon. It was on Amazon for about 4 months. And the cover is not in this book because this is one of the fuck-ups. The cover was a cartoon penis with a mohawk that a friend of mine had drawn. And after 4 months, Amazon realized they were selling a book with a cartoon penis on the front, and they took it down. And Laughing Around Press, Joe was like, I want to publish your book. And so I was like, all right. So, this is the first of the penis poems, written at the insistence of my now ex-wife. Joe changed something in here. This is Laughing Christ Superstar in this edition. Alright, so my penis is an intergalactic space pirate, stealing pleasure away from the hidden palaces of the universal vixens. My penis is a low-down, dirty bandito. He'd shoot your daughter in the eye to spite your ideas of Western justice. My penis is a profound lover of the arts and appreciates culture. And as a patron of the arts, not even the Medici surpass them. My penis once got into a fight with a neighboring tribe of penises in order to secure good land and a future for his people. My penis subverts American culture and rigged the 2000 elections to put a dick in the White House, all on a dare. My penis hates Mondays and loves lasagna and likes to nap and torment his owner. My penis has won the pennant but never won the big show and is spoken of as legend just like Shoeless Joe. the gargoyle.
That was great.
This is from a different angle. When you see it as a kid in the bathroom and it gets lodged in your mind and you think, holy Christ, my dad has the world's biggest dick. Then as an adult, you're lifting up a skeleton to help change his soiled pants and you wonder if the change is the cancer or just your perspective.
Ouch.
Yeah. That book's pretty funny up until like the last three. I like to do that on purpose. Alright, so this is me and Tim's book, came out from EMP. How much time do I got? Am I good? I'm good. Sun's up. Anyway, this book, Tim came up to me. He was like, you want to work with me? I sent him some poems. He sent me some poems. Then I'd send him one. He'd send me another. We just kept being like, well, I'm going to add one more. If you're going to add one more. This is this. But these poems, I did something different with these, by the way. I was tired of sounding like myself, so I would write something, or I would find a piece of writing, and I would run it through Google Translate over and over and over and over and over and over again until it came out as gibberish, and I would use that as a prompt to write a new poem. So this poem, it's called The Sweetest Embrace. And I think the source for this was Bill Murray's speech from Stripes. No bond is more faithful. No, sorry, I gotta correct this. This is from a speech by Eugene V. Debs. So,
Close enough.
same guy. Sweetest embrace. No bond is more faithful, caring, and flexible than bribery. Money meets, hands shake, the eyes kissed, they declare war, but they do not fight. Modern feudal lords, barons of Wall Street.
Nice.
And here's the Sermon on the Mount revisited. It's hard. It's a hot topic. Blessings on one another, the poor, all these sad sacks, the meek, even the merciful. Just a bunch of doormats, really. After all this time, they should step on up and meet Samuel Colt and let the rich find out if any blessings are available. Judgment satisfies thirst and hunger. Have fun. All right. Let me just do one more. I'm gonna read one where I did. I'm gonna read two. I'm gonna read one where I didn't do that. This is just where. Well, I had my first job. I was working at Walmart, and it was Friday night, and I'm walking out, and I'm tired as shit, and I get this call from, and I'm 20 years old. I get this call from the lady that manned the fitting rooms during the day, and she's 39. She's like, Jonathan, I made ribs for somebody to show up, and they didn't come over. I was like, oh, sorry to hear that. Do you want some ribs? And I was like, it's midnight. I kind of just want to go home. And she was like, John, you should come get ribs. Anyway, so this poem's about her. I got the ribs. Shit.
Took the brown cow.
Sorry.
And then some.
This is the same poem, but this is about the same event but a different perspective, and this one's kinder.
Oh.
After the sex, after she fell asleep, I rose and plodded through the home like my animal ancestors, naked, relaxed, cock and balls swinging. I nosed through the rooms in the kitchen. I scrounged up the barbecued ribs and beer she had used to lure me as a trap. The chirping of the microwave aroused groggy murmurs from the bedroom. I cocked my head, my ears perked, and I waited for silence. Then I sat in the dark with cigarettes and the flickering glow of late-night reruns. I guzzled my drink and ate with my hands and gnawed the bones and sucked the sauce from my fingers, and I grinned with greasy face and laughed at Jack Tripper and his women troubles. I felt satisfied. With belly full of meat, I ambled into the bedroom and stood at the end of the bed and observed my mate asleep, smiling. She was a pile of blonde hair and sheets, and I eased myself into the bed next to her. will be our last one. I'm having a good time.
I thought you were gonna
Everybody
say-
good?
I thought you were going to say your favorite sexual position was the rollback.
Roll back to the Walmart.
Yeah.
That's a fucking good line.
How good were the ribs? Were they like fall off the back?
Yeah, were they good ribs?
It was worth the trip. It was worth the trip. She's a good lady. Anyway, collector for Tim Heerdink. He doesn't just collect board games, he studies them, not just their rules, but every facet. The history, each edition changes in design, and he meets the creators and becomes a part of their lives on a first-name basis. He doesn't just collect board games, he reveres them. And he doesn't just collect poets, he learns their quirks and styles and hypes them up and gets them traveling for miles and miles for an evening's worth of readings and glowing just to get back in the car and do another night, another showing. And he becomes a much appreciated part of their lives. Often is said, I hope Tim can make it. He doesn't just collect poets, he inspires them.
C. Snow Mathews is an indigenous poet, freelance journalist, and activist. Their work often focuses on decolonization and identity from the perspective of one who's both mixed and genderqueer. C. Snow.
So I also work with Jonathan and Sam on the Grindstone, and I'm happy to be here. Like, this is honestly a really cute town. I'm really excited that you all had me out. The first few poems I'm going to read are from upcoming collections that I'm working on. This first one is from a collection that's going to go through Pierce Lee's called Eucharist, about the feeling of being consumed, or the thought of consumption itself. And it's called Craft at 2 a.m. and there's this feeling, maybe zen, from being 3 bottles in and hydrating to a degree of sentience, revolutionary, the need for aqua. The hunger seems to grow, and you feel empty, sober despite the weed and liquor. Is this nirvana? You desperately think making Mac in a house unaccompanied, save for snores. And yeah, this is heaven, the space between sober and self-aware, where you've been wandering, hoping, being forced to face the varsity. Usually it's hiding behind drink and reason, but God is in the off-season, and you're smart, starting your off-brand cost at $3.30. And what's the point of living if all we live for is to consume? Is there deeper meaning in the cosmos behind grinding jaw and apathy? The pathos of passive, go with the flow, the eternals of that pretty good actually crowd. Fuck. That joke aged faster than the water took the boil. And you're rewatching Ice Age sequel, trying not to recapture your youth for what it felt like to be 8 in New Mexico, when Indiana Jones' collector spoon was everything and your father is dead. So you consume, faster than you can process the grief, and you're busy learning thermodynamics to understand how a body can disappear, magic. And your mother tells you she's always here, tragic. The way age strips you of Santa, universal constants, leaving you with Kraft Mac and the Mandalorian, the memory always being better than the moment, so you consume. All the things that numb you and make you acquiescent to the fact that it's 4 a.m. you don't know where you are, despite having everything planned at 16. You are alone in a house full of roommates sleeping in the same bed you had at 12 before the fire, and before you cut yourself to feel, the only difference being that you have tits, and there are insurance settlements for the shittiness of existence. So you sigh, turn off the water, and pray to a God that stopped being real 10 years ago, that everything will be okay, make some sense some way, but your pot is boiling over. The next one from that collection is the fun word title. It's one about my experiences having bipolar disorder, and I wrote this while extremely manic, and just, completely off my rocker, and it's wonderful. So this first poem is called Lunacy. Lunacy, the state of being that undoes meaning, the tinge of the moon fully, urgently pleading, but there is no need, no meaning, just midnight screening, a matinee as you sit, slit your wrist to feel something, make out with strangers at a bar at 2 a.m., do bumps in a trap house not out of desire, out of want, need, just because you're there, unfeeling, and the world is reeling, and you're floating in a fugue state, down the halls of a stranger's home, and she tells you her parents are away, out of state, out of mind, she's an art major, your muse, and you let her explore your body with a brush and knife. It's abstract, a collage of parts that don't equal out, and her father finds you, ready to knife your Damocles, and cuts her because she's a lesbian and you're a tranny. Everything is slanted as you stare at photos in a crowded room, all of you, and the people are feasting as a silent storm rages. You fix them, the photos, only to realize you're standing on the walls and the feast is you, 1,000 ways to consume, and she's painting there, the artist, painting from a thread on red like beads you strung, traded for your home you lost centuries ago, and you're a ghost. To her and everyone who loved them, the child in the slanted frames, you met her at Applebee's at a quarter to close. Drunk off your ass with fishbowls that never end, or maybe it was Red Robin, you don't know, but it was a quarter to close and the night to end. Next thing you know, she's doing blow in the parking lot, telling you about how we're all startups, and time is a valley, and you're fundamentally alone. So you dance till dawn, no need for a song, just the silence of a city in decay, built on a river, the factories run dry, only exports being overpriced rentals and polluted skies, but there are stars beyond the clouds if you squint, so you run blind to no sky, but there's only so far to go before they catch you, strung out to dry and a dress stolen from Salvation Army counters, as beautiful as the stars that bore you. So the other collection I'm working on right now, I have one with Jonathan that's going to be coming out sometime this year called Don't Mind the Wolf. It's our second book together. Might not read anything from that tonight, but I am going to read some stuff I wrote last night. I'm working on a book called Phrenology, and it's a messy look at my relationship with my body being trans and mixed. And I just got the first half of the manuscript back from the publisher. They're asking for heavy rewrites, and so last night I just kind of started writing. I've never read these aloud, I just want to hear how they sound. My tongue is shaped wrong for the language that consumes. Canadian, Spanish, Irish, no. My tongue wraps around syllables that flowed with ancestors' blood, fields where its schools cut our tongues, and the bodies sit unnamed as my tongue speaks strict verses. I would starve till your voice was known. I starve still in scraps preserved by survivors of trauma unearned, but we hid.
Nice.
The next one. When ravens stole the sun, fires were burned to light night, though white is black in firelight. You spoke with split tongue and sang in the accent of no love. Zedideoin is mutual, but you stole our breath, our words are ash in your mouth. Feathers black, singed, I smell you in eureka oil. Christ was crucified on pine, and pine was carved by brown hands, and Christ was brown, but I'm not. Skin is colonized at the prayers of sleeping elders, lost into the stolen. I learned to speak in song, but the words are no philosophy, and Christ can't sing. But I starved at the foot of Solomon, and Jesus washed his feet. Though I lived and was beaten, my blood was euchre to eat, yet I starved. He stole my identity with shattered tooth and white lie, pasted in the back window of a 97 Camry rushing down I-69, and that number holds no sex appeal to a raped child. She left scars that will be covered in incisions to be rectified by ceremony that inks the lines on my cheeks, but for now, the needle pulls the ache. It's funny how sacred is overused, but my gender is, and medicines are prescribed when I am, and laughter is, but my hair carries reminders, so I castrate God in the name of Ichimato. So this is a special thing that Jonathan and I are putting out. It's a re-release of Beautiful Architecture, the book that we put out together last year. So this is in chapbook form. It's, every cover is hand stamped. I carved 3 variances out of rubber, and we have 2 extra poems in this edition. Each one is a 1 of 8, and they're all numbered and signed. So, the one I'm going to read from this is the new poem that was added, and it's called Silverfish. A river runs through it, that home we used to know, blood after fire, now bones, and a tree has sprouted, rooted between cobblestone, opens the foundation for you to see. Down in the settlement, the fish are spawning, protected from current and nursery, and you smile at the irony, the unpleasant memories, and light a cigarette. You promise never to smoke, they promise to keep you safe. Funny, that in foundations breaking life may flourish, you want a hysterectomy. To dam the river, which watch their life run dry. Nature is cruel and they haven't the rights, building their lives in the ruins of yours. You exhale, breathe fog and smoke and sigh. Skipping the broken bits across the surface, the foundation disappears. 10,000 ripples take its place, and it's almost beautiful, the sky shattered. How little darts of silver break through the mirage. They cast disco light broken stones, become stars to reflect the moon. It's all backwards. Your world is upside down. The beauty too much, too alien, too new. This place too old, too many memories. Yet it's yet this family of silverfish paint starry night sky and cast soft ripples over the broken homes of your broken home. And you're smoking a cigarette, thinking about how poetic it'd be to float, let the river carry you downstream to that valley where you ran away. Suitcase full of teddy bears. You lasted a day. The bruises 3 weeks. What gives them the right to be so beautiful? To steal this moment, this place. You exhale. See them through the haze, and they become lightning, flashing in the clouds, only for a moment, before a pebble sends them scattering, shattering into fireworks, comet showers, sparks to its start, ember. Pretty things break in pretty ways, and damn if you aren't a silverfish. Been a little heavy tonight, but this one is a little lighter. It was almost rejected from the Tickets to Midnight collection, which is put out by Pure Sleeves. It's mostly horror and erotica. I have 2 horror stories, but this was almost rejected for being too wholesome. It's a poem about oral sex.
Not all sex is dirty.
I know, some holes are wholesome. We got the hashtag right. So, this is called Sappho Was a Sparrow. There's a gentle flapping of wings as it seems a reverie, birds need leaves who shelter from ice and southern plains. I stretch for an infinity on a curve that crests horizons to show me the subtle valley that between breasts lies. And they touch me there, as you do. The birds dancing across skin, I learn to speak their language. How the shape of my tongue can form sounds, and with a flick shatter starlings into ribbons that team on the slick strings like your hands on me. Fingers drawing letters into the spine, the curve of my spine. I curve like the horizon as the birds fly, and you curve as I speak their secret song to the walls of the valley where you dwell. It's magic and the natural progression of tides drawn into your moon, and the birds return south in the love of you. Second issue of the Grindstone came out not too long ago. We're going to be taking submissions for the 3rd at the beginning of August. And this issue focused on environmentalism. It's the environment issue. And this is No Good Medicine. I'm listless, relentlessly aimless, lying in the shadow of a moon new, born red from the shadow of a star, cold, and I'm sweating, relentlessly abetting, wandering in still oceans as the tide sits dead. Drawn no more by this bloody orb, and the sky is on fire. Bombs over Gaza, and the Dead Sea sits red, unmoving, like I, despondent, on satin sheets worn thin, sleepless in shadows. Cast by a star in demise, dwelling on my blood, uprooted from home and grave, and the air is heavy with coming rain. It burns the air, like the Colombian cities redden. The skies over Gaza, I too wish to burn, to light my skin golden, but my mind wanders to the braids that hang limp at your funeral. And my lungs burn from medicine misuse. My cheeks are dry as the leather gifted. And when my mind wanders to the pandemic that kept me from you, tears only coming from the truth that I left, chained myself in a cage of work and paid for myself and you who gave everything. And the way they take everything from our cousins in cages along a border drawn in our blood. And the moon is red, casting shadows over my skin, bruising me in omens like serpents that bring black floods. The first drops strike the chest flat, and it smells of fisheries on fire and Micmac. And I want to rise up, to topple statues, to paint Lincoln's face red, but the water burns, sedates, no longer washes away my pain. Sickly and sodden sheets, sticky black remains as Mrs. Sinnabeg entwines me, corrupted by greed, and Annemiek is dead, killed by the satellites that litter our skies, and the moon is red as the dot they wish to colonize, like Palestine, like my mind, like their lungs, like the bodies of my sisters in red. I want to rise, but I can't breathe. Like Floyd in the streets and it's circling, black as a boot, crushing the wind from my lungs, and I'm choking on the smoke in the sky, bodies burning along the Ganges, the birds are swarming in their sleep in their plastic glory, and I want to rise, I might just die. Like so many before me, left only to thoughts and prayers, hollow words like empty bottles stacking, no good medicine left unsinged.
Seasonal Mathews. Guys, thank you. Great. No, sit down, Tim. We're gonna take 10. 10.
I usually say 10. We never usually come back
Okay.
to 10. But
10. Focusing on 10.
Between 10 and 45.
Somewhere between 10, yeah. Smoke whatever you got and share. And thank you guys, please, for coming out.
Jason, where's Tim? Is Tim's reading?
I thought we were doing open mic.
No, Tim.
I'm actually doing a set.
Yeah, Tim.
I did not know that. I'm an idiot.
I'm like, what are you doing?
That's like,
I
okay,
did not know that.
Mark.
But you've been messing with me all day.
No,
I thought you were
This
doing
is what you
something
get.
so good
I mean, no, by now his book is on Amazon.
Right
Okay.
now,
It better
okay,
be
you know
at
what?
7:31.
I'm going to hell. So Tim Tarkelly.
all right, thank you,
Jeez,
Jason,
man.
for that glowing
I
information.
know.
Yeah, it's terrible, man.
He's come on. In my defense, all day.
In his defense, Tim Tarkelly.
All yes.
So speaking of Jason Reberg, we actually did a book together not that long ago called The Great American Pyramid Scheme. It's a part of the New Prophets of Poetic Discord series. And there's a lot of poets in the room, so I want to start with this poem. It's called Iowa Workshop Model. No, I don't want to talk about eye-opening adjectives about craft. I want to tell you what it's like to drown in front of everyone, and how if you scream and fight 50 feet below the surface of your own shortcomings, it just looks like you're dancing. The thing is, we sculpt our stories into songs and pretend we are elevating language by calling our red blood crimson and praising each sunrise as God's newest beginning, by thatching nets out of our hang-ups and dragging them along the bottom of our most recent memories. We inject humor because we know our families will laugh and let our cries for help hover just beyond their attention span. We use imagery to hide how window street and grimy our perspectives really are. Maybe we'd be better off recanting our embarrassments to a professional instead of this circle. Storytellers are liars by nature, absorbing each other's pain just to wring out their bodies, let it all drip into crudely formed stanzas with their name neatly tucked under the title. For once, let's just say what we mean. Spend more time on healing, less time sweating over line breaks. This next one is called Jackie's Type. She turned me down and latched onto a son of the Dakotas. Two bodies that had come together to shape him from the rocks, from the cowpunch leather, from Stetson felt. Blessed him with a wandering spirit that took him all of 10 feet, dropped him with a dull thud right in the middle of everyone else's good time, but granted him a chin christened with sharp charm, an eternity of yesterday's stubble. Lonely coyote moons followed him around just to set behind him, making each dumb thing he said sound like the credits were about to roll. And I'm not saying I couldn't have taken him, but it would have meant doing him a favor. No one wore grit, bruises, and wild like he did, and boy did she love to kiss on his wounds, nurse him back to bar fighting health. This next one is about Paget's, the bar down the street. First place I ever had a Frisco burger, probably my second day in residency here last summer. And this one is dedicated to the one and only Jason Reberg.
Probably the last place you'll have a Frisco burger.
Not all leaps of faith are so rewarding. They don't all come with cheese. But expectation is getting easy to defeat in this land of wandering children, of cell phone signals so faint, it's crushed under the slightest hint of urgency. And frankly, I prefer not to be asked how I like my burgers cooked. You either know there's only one right answer, or you wouldn't be able to deliver my version of pink in the middle anyway. Historically, perspective has been shaped by fuel far worse than silence, griddle grease, a stomach spoiled by its own sensitivities. We should all take leaps of faith more often. I'm just going to read a few poems from this book. This one is on slip rigs and spiritual growth. It's an entire collection of poems about fishing. This one, funnily enough, is also dedicated to Jason Rayberg, based on a conversation we had at Pageants. It's called To Those Who Leave Beer Cans to Float Down the River. I hear y'all chanting America. Its vinyl colors stamped on your bumpers, flimsy arguments about tradition pulled from faded blueprints, the Virginian homes of dead men. It's almost as if you've forgotten the name is attached to a place. God carved these valleys so the Osage could drink, so the earth could carry water to its children. This one is about a truly painful experience in my life. It's probably the heaviest I'll get tonight. It's called The Gorgeous Bass Pro Shop Employee Who Denied My Credit Card Application and Gave Me 2 free hats. First, I'm sorry for noticing. Failure will do that to you. Heighten your worst senses to generate a more accurate picture, the perfect snapshot of rejection. Second, it pains me to see myself how you must see me. Barely a man with an awkward smile, a credit score that feeds with the Plato. Forgo the scripted congeniality, the promise of more explanation in the mail. Just kill me now and set me up with the stuffed fauna or set me free. Click yes, click print, and guide me to the sleeping bag suited for all temperatures. For what it's worth, I would have used this money for good. Real adventures oiled with bear grease and charted on antique maps. While I can't stake the voyage on my own, thanks for the few moments of your time, for your warmth, for the free hats. This is from my newest collection, Ordering Dumplings with Bitcoin. It's a whole collection of poems about cryptocurrency. This is the kind of person I am. This first one is called David Attenborough Observes an Exiled Prince of the Financial Services Roundtable. We feel a rare moment of human concern. A bloodied heart and an attention span as he kneels on the sidewalk, picks the crowd apart with his eyes because no one trusts his hands anymore. His cup is full of quarters, wadded bills, but it's unclear where it all came from. He hasn't spoken since the recession. Just silently parted his hair until his suit lost its color, until his data spoiled. Swipe patterns and profit margins left to smolder. Mushroom clouds on the horizon, hindsight just fucking it all up. This one is called The Gold Standard. Imagine if faith didn't have to feel like a guess, if we could hold her. Stop staking our happiness in what-ifs, ratio built on past happiness, formulas that never quite worked out. We keep weighing exchange rates and good intentions, scrawled in the back of bar napkins, sent as desperate DMs that keep us hopeful, keep us awake at night, breathing quietly, staying up to see if she messages back. The real thing, yes, the real thing would be a whole lot better. It's called On Having to Cash Out All Your Crypto Holdings to Pay for Basic Necessities. You're a tall guy till you're called out by the NBA, getting dunked on, boxed out while you swat at passes you were never meant to reach. We'll call it big wallet energy, paying transaction fees out of pocket while living paycheck to paycheck, swallowing losses to keep the lights on. This is talking points. Nightmares drawn in 10 buzzwords or less. Recited as 9-to-5 fuel by men in sharp little offices. Espiocrats stewing in oblivion, taking their 15 minutes of solitude. The early signs of Eastern thought to come and cloud their private school judgment. They sell arms to Bond villains and paint dorm room cybernauts as terrorists. But exclamations are just opportunities with silly punctuation. Mother necessity to shock and awe types, brains built for damage, not for cleanup. We know better. We buy high and hold on for dear life. I don't know how much you guys know about crypto stuff, but there's a guy named Satoshi who is the anonymous inventor of Bitcoin. And over the years, people have tried to figure out who he is. And there is a man by the last name of Szabo, who was a kind of a cypherpunk back in the day, who had a degenerative illness. And around the time that he started having this illness was the time that Satoshi kind of disappeared. So it may be him, may not be, but I wrote a poem about it. It's called Szabo. We will leave our understandings on the coat rack, talk as men, as you regale the inaugural dance, the first foray into darkness. Even mountains can crumble if you remove the right pieces. You embarked, headlamp mounted to your mouse pad, and safely emerge on the other side, a peak most only dream of. Anonymity doesn't quiet the hero's fall. We hear you, we'll continue to pretend we don't. All right, I'm gonna read a couple few. I've been out here in residence for a while. Last year and this summer, I came out here to write a project, a book of poems that kind of re-examines how we look at the Old West, kind of confronts all of our heroes and tales that we have celebrated for so long. Fun fact, the Davy Crockett story as told by Disney is not exactly how it happened. So I actually finished that manuscript while I was in residence here, and I'm going to read a few poems from that, and then I'm going to read a couple haiku from a book that's coming out soon. This one's called Last Stand at the Alamo. The church bells rang under a hail of musket balls. Knives fell from the sky and landed in the right palms. Could you hear St. Michael? He dared us to carve freedom in Satan's forearm. Invite him in and see who could hold on the longest. This one is Jesse James was a coward. Jesse James was a coward. A half-assed trigger pulled from a Kansas City paper where rich folks long since cornered the market on low-rent heroes and a sore loser complex. As deep as the Missouri, as wide as Missouri, as miserable as the gray-coated, blood-stained losers who came back to sharecrop their way through life, drink their Kentucky hang-ups, leave the local swill for the Federals. He carved Dixie on his lips and bit every time he heard someone whistle the Star-Spangled Banner. Train robbing, shooting bankers just for looking like America, a place he lived, cursed for welcoming him back home, whose ground he filled with shallow graves and a shallow definition of liberty. One of those feeble-minded outlaws who never could realize they're not special. They too must give thanks for what they have rather than burn us for what they don't. So about an hour north of here, when Lewis and Clark were on their way west through Osage land, there's a spot called Clark's Hill where they camped out for 2 nights, and he wrote about it in his journal. And there's still a bunch of native burial mounds that you can see as you're going up the path. It's like a mile trail. Not very long. If you have the time, you should take it. This one's called Clark's Hill. The things we bury are never as dead as the things we live for. A country of no grandfathers. Too young to heed wise words and with no formative field from which to harvest them. We stomp on the heads of kind ghosts. Call it our newly fashioned home. We cross our legs and enjoy the view. Thank you. This is the last one I'm going to read from this collection. This is the title poem. It's A Horse Called Victory. You can't half-ass it. It takes a real leader to mold horseflesh. A clean resection of instinct with nothing but a soothing voice and a curry comb to suit its hard and hide for the hunt. Mean hooves headlong toward hurt and a yucca-browed madness, scraping the earth clean of its last civil notions. Chestnut and leather flared with white sparks, iron-knuckled steaming, ready for a reckoning. How much heat does it take to cook your biggest fears into engine coal? It's all war dust. Black powder nimbus, a heavenscape painted in broad strokes of lead, broken by earth and muscle. Spurs shattering against skin, leaving splinters to settle in the sand with the arrowheads. Thank you. The last little bit I'm going to read. OAC Books is putting out a book of mine. We finalized it today. It should be on Amazon by now. I'm sure. Called Polling Data as a Means of Self-Expression. It's 200 plus political haiku. And I'm going to read exactly 11 of them. And so I'm just going to read them all. I'm going to read the title, read the poem, read the title, read the poem. I'm going to read all 11. Don't worry about clapping in between, and then I'll be done. Same plague, different witch doctor. Right or wrong, we march. Ad hominem sage bundles burn to clear the vibes. Election season on campus. Tables fill the quad. Pamphlets meekly tossed into purple trash cans. European solidarity. A hushed hemisphere watches the bombs fall and waves blue and yellow flags. Lying in state. Death quiets nothing. Lincoln's moldering old soul still hollers at dusk. Corrupt bargainer. John Quincy Adams, son of a Federalist, slithers like one too. Southern Cross. Slow fading colors. Heritage is a weird word for memory loss. AOC. Sound bites summoned hate. Facebook dads tongue fuck the void, pin their blame on youth. Mitt. Sharp ties fold early. Morals can get you nowhere, booed by your own kind. Floyd. Whole world of white fear. What was Atlas kneeling on? Badged brutality. The state. The same hand that feeds, puts on black body armor, puts kids in cages. When I'm president, I'll burn the house down, turn access codes to plowshares, probably resign.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Now break time.
sell yourself, John.
All the different dragons and the different masters.
And the series isn't even completed.
All right, we're gonna get started again. Anyone who's outside, stop talking, come back in.
You guys should know who's the teacher.
I appreciate Jason Reberg giving me a little break today. So we're gonna do our open mic list. Does anyone who's not on this list want to be on it? If you do, it's right here. Got a pen. All right. Before I do, I want to thank everybody for still being here who came back in. Sometimes people escape. Like I said earlier, we will be here again on August 20th at 6 p.m. And Darren Dean from Lincoln University will be here.
And then you said
Alright.
date in September, what was that date?
That's August 20th, and
Yeah.
then September 17th.
17th, okay.
And reading on the 17th, the only difference will be that we're going to start at 4 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock. Which, because we have a lot of people.
In August? No, September.
No, in September. Like normally, every reading we do is at 6 o'clock, and the only time I will change that is if we have an ungodly amount of people, which we do. So
What else happens on September 17th?
it'll be the wedding of Tim Tarkelly, who is a bastard because I wanted to come to his wedding, but like he had to schedule it on a day where I could not be there. I was gonna eat mutton
I
and
know.
drink mead.
Actually, Casey Renfest scheduled it for that day, so
All right. Well, you gotta like lodge a complaint for me in some way.
I will.
But all right. So, without further ado, we will get this rolling. Again, thank you, Jason Reber, for coming back in. You were the best. But so with that, I am just going to call up Mac Thorne.
John.
I'm gonna read a couple rattlesnakes and flat tops. I don't know if everybody heard this, but I do have a running sale right now. I spilled a bunch of Casey Sweet Tea on some copies of my books, so I'm selling them for like half price.
Say it's bourbon. Just say it's bourbon.
Well, it's Casey Sweet Tea.
I mean-
It's more valuable.
That should at least add like a $1.25 to their value.
It could be,
it'll work.
maybe in like 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a signature in some kind of way. So this one is called Mojo Rising. I'll make you love me with this Mojo hand baggie. Don't need much but a couple days worth of pay and a spoonful of love. I'll have you kissing the moon and singing David Byrne saying, baby, this must be the place. Those rose-colored glasses might work for a while, make these dirty bathroom stalls look like altars at a dive bar temple that worships only you, but only until the gas in your lamp runs out. So before your teeth crack, shuffle and dance for the man, and maybe then he'll give you another bag. I don't know if anybody's ever couch surfed before, but this is kind of about that. It's called Lay Me a Pallet on Your Floor. Sleep on couches with one eye open and a knife under the pillow. Kindness comes at cutthroat costs, a hand to help you up and another to tie the noose around your neck. And I'm going to read just a couple really small ones that I've been working on. This one is called Undertow, and I really like to write about a lot of the, kind of tall tales and then real life stories that I hear outside of living out here. And there's one conversation I was having at work, and it was all about kind of people respecting the rivers. Even though some of the ones that are out here can be really slow and sometimes tame, you can never underestimate the undertow. And so this one's called Undertow. Skipping belches across green glass, cider poured over braised dermis, cook me slow, sweet river, make me tender. Jumping fish, snatch dragonflies, mid-flight over Dresden, the closest they will ever get to heaven. Dive from starboard to nab that new hat, floating towards a destination unknown. Pour mass into rubber boots, last time I seen him, he was with you. called patio season, and this is kind of yeah, it's about patio season. Pizza and coffee is an underappreciated, soft-spoken machete that slashes at the underbrush of my hangover blues. Look to the sun in search of guidance. Tell me, old one, is it patio season yet?
Nice.
I was going to say, your book is so much, but the diabetes is free. From that
The
case.
diabetes is free. You have to pay for the insulin.
Just shoot some of that Casey sweet tea in your arm. All right. The next person I'm going to call up has been, I've recently become a pretty big fan of his work, and he's been waiting patiently, probably just about as long as anyone today. And that is my friend Ken Heerdink. Ken, it's good to see you.
Thanks. I've enjoyed all the readings, so thank you for that. Okay. Let's see. I didn't have it open, so just a second. Okay, so this is about someone who I knew several lifetimes ago. And I hadn't seen him in 30 years. I found out last year he died. And I always wondered if he changed. Snack bar alchemy. There is no physics, no chemistry in your alchemy. No sometimes where truth is concerned. Not now. Never. No silver lining will change that. Fools, drunk on the belief that gold lies at the end of your rainbow, would sooner find wealth in a clod of dirt. With words as filling as a snack bar of deception, flavored with delusion, your sincerity rings out. Thank you. I've had this for a while. I pull it out. I think I'm going to rewrite it. Should it be more than just a call and response with opening and closing questions? I don't know. Slow descent into darkness. I search for answers and wonder, would I recognize them? How can less be known the more that is revealed? Perspective tarnishes the truth. What is my worth among the plight of others? Who decides? This person, but not another? Chance robs even the worthy. Does hardship serve a purpose? 1,000 butterflies cannot carry the world. Why give more when destiny delivers less? What is hunger to a dying man? Is there futility in standing firm when time holds all power? Is life anything more than a footnote? Why do we accept events as destiny and not a matter of chance? A lightning strike means nothing to a burning forest. Of what value are answers revealed when no longer needed? A lesson still holds true when learned too late. Does strength hide in the slow descent? That's it. Thank you. Rising from a raven's darkness. In the depth of my darkness, deep within the land of dreams, came a raven, blacker than the surrounding night. Deep, a piercing light that hinted at the possibility of the birth of something better. It spoke of opportunities long vanished from my mind, as it reminded me of the beauty of the sun, moon, and stars. Aware that the raven could be a trickster, as could my own mind, I considered the weight of the meaning of the words that were spoken. When I opened my eyes, I was greeted by the welcome light of day, no longer fearful that the dark of night could hold any power over me. Thank you. This is someone else I knew, lost touch with a long time ago. She was maybe about 40 at the time. Her father had just died of cancer, and she was never without a cigarette. A wave of the hand. A wave of the hand. The sense I see within my haze remains obscure to you in all your clarity. On the one hand, nearly half my life lies before me. In my other hand, I hold that which took his life away. Washing my hands of it. Snuffing it out means facing that he is gone. Its connection to that time outweighs the harm that it causes me. There is time enough to shed my reliance upon it. There will never be enough time to recover from what I've lost. So forgive the wisp of smoke as I talk with my hands. I prefer that all is not so clear, surrounded as I am by this haze. Thank you. One more. When I kayak on Binder Lake in Jefferson City, there's a tree in the middle of the lake. It comes up at a 45-degree angle, and quite often I see a heron on it. And one time it actually let me get close enough. I mean, like within 30 feet. It was pretty amazing. Wild stillness. There is no conversation to be had between us, no common ground that would satisfy either of us. You standing tall on a tree, extending from the water, fresh catch lying at your feet, while I slowly paddle past, not 30 feet away, looking for some recognition in the eye that follows me as your head turns. Some appreciation for sunlight glinting from the water, or the breeze that lightly ruffles your feathers, yet soothes on this midsummer day. But you bend to retrieve your meal and tilt your head back to shake it down your throat as I paddle out of sight.
I didn't want to be remiss. Most of the people in this room know about this, but Caitlin Jones, who is Belle's City Poet Laureate, who I thought would be here with us this evening, she has put together a meet and greet event on September 24th, which I believe it's 10 a.m. to 1. And it's going to be at the library in Lynn. And she's featuring artists from all around Missouri, but there are going to be like 20 people. They're putting out book tables. And if you're in the area, you should come out. And before I go any further, I also would very much like to thank Mark. I'd like to thank Tony. I'd like to thank the Friends of the Belle Library, who are sort of directly and indirectly responsible for all the events that happen here, and their board. So thank you guys. And with that, I will bring up the man who said I could bring him up whenever I wanted to, the wearer of fine hats, my friend, Jason Reaper.
Thank you to Jerome Smith too.
Man, that's cheating. You can sit
That's
right
right. I'm
there.
gonna just bring this up with me. Screw your T-shirt, Heerdink. Bring my own camera. Ramon style. Oh yes, with glasses. Never saw the Ramones with glasses. It's never dark. Sometimes the moon is nothing more than the moon. Sometimes the moon comes down if she happens to be in town from her royal couch of clouds to drink with us, my shadow and me when no one else will. Sometimes the moon rings like a temple bell on a brittle, breathless, freeze-dried night, signaling the beginning or maybe the end of something important, and radiates with a halo of steam like a luminous ball of ice. Sometimes the moon is a curved dagger that some Bedouin, bandit, prince might have brandished in the blue and grainy late show of my childhood dreams. Sometimes the moon is a white rose that drunken fools inevitably try to shoot arrows and poems at, knowing full well that both return to Earth with potentially dangerous results. Sometimes the moon is a pallid face, peering in at us through a winter window scene, while the radio begins to glow with a moody Ellington indigo. And a car down on the street is struggling to clear the early frost from its throat. Sometimes the moon is a cop's flashlight, cutting a cautious path through film noir ghosts of gutter steel. Sometimes the moon is a 60-watt bulb, shining from the back porch out into the sweaty, firefly-infused backyard jungle nights of long ago. Sometimes the moon is a guard tower spot, always trying to catch us with its magic lasso whenever we make our midnight raids over the walls into the garden of earthly delights. Sometimes the moon is a silver dollar that's been sheared in two by a dull and rusty pair of tin snips. Sometimes the moon is a shiny dime, flattened on a railroad track, in which if one looks just right, a semblance of Roosevelt's confident and reassuring smirk can still be seen. Sometimes the moon is a fat, blue, androgynous Buddha, grinning out at the universe in every direction at once. Sometimes the moon is a single bright eye of a dark god of the ancient world, peering down at us through a hole torn in the top of a circus tent of clouds, or up from an inversely alternate underworld through the dimensional portal of a swollen marshy pond. Sometimes the moon is nothing more than the moon. Nah, that's never true. Head full of boogeymen, belly full of snakes. Or no escape from the island of misfit boys, with a Z. Some nights the restless specter of the mind will just not lie still, opting instead to skulk about the dark, gothic countryside of the psyche, the foggy moors of the emotions, the primeval backwoods of prehistoric memory, the two-lane highways and old back roads like stitches crisscrossing and holding the whole gooey gray mass together. On nights like these, when the flesh, and perhaps the ego as well, is bruised and battered beyond recognition, and the ancient haunted scaffolding of the bones is creaking and popping, like an old cedar tree in the wind under the compounded and constantly shifting weight of the 60-hour work week. When the sprawling network of nerves and arteries and capillaries is a NASCAR speedway, enriched by high-octane coffee and toxic energy drinks, the spirit searches longingly for a co-sponsor of sorts, a technical advisor or low-grade savior even, to shepherd us through yet another shadowy valley of sleepless summer hell. An intermediary between the cold, indifferent cosmos and the unreconstructed cave dweller that still huddles fearfully somewhere inside all of us. We're talking one of those nights of endless, sexistential free fall into the gaping black maw of the great space-time consortium, like a city block-sized sinkhole just suddenly opened up beneath you, deep and dark as the legendary long dark tunnel of the soul about which so many poems and stories and songs are so earnestly purged out into the wild blue nemosphere every year. But here, the light at the end is the light leaking out from the other side of a door left cracked open conveniently for you, as if someone were expecting you. A light with the weird luminescence of the light one would dig one's own grave by, maybe. Or better yet, a prison break light, or concentration of multicolored spotlights shining down on you at that precise, precarious moment you've forgotten the lines to your big, solemn, earnest speech to life's unsmiling and wildly indifferent grand jury. And despite what half the ghosts in your head and damn near every one of the snakes in your belly are telling you, you proceed heedlessly anyway, only to bolt awake 4:37 a.m. to someplace you don't recognize. An old-fashioned rotary dial telephone ringing and ringing like a goddamn ice pick in your ear. Oh, collect a call from the island of misfit boys, it seems. A Mr. Charlie in the box. Yeah, you remember, you guys go way back. And will you accept the charges? It's called drunk directing traffic at the intersection of time and space. No sooner had I lowered myself down into that dark well of ghost echoes and distant whale squeak than I was the poor boy of every sad blues and honky-tonk song. Thumb out on the lost highway and a long, long way from home. Such a long, long way from home. A lonesome stranger hoping to hitch a ride to ever stranger lands and other parts unknown as well. I was Hank and Lefty, Kerouac and Cassidy, Quixote and Sancho. I wore the fabled hubcap diamond star halo and red shoes that were the envy of every angel and devil alike. I made midnight raids on the garden of earthly delights. I stole death's pale, raggedy horse and sold it to a traveling gypsy circus for pennies on the pound. I popped, locked, and moonwalked in the middle of traffic at the intersection of time and space. I rode bitch between a megachurch minister and a street corner preacher on a white-knuckle cross-country pilgrimage to Nowheresville, USA. My soon-to-be published account to Hell's Half Acre and back again, a hobo's tale. I got drunk on 9 kinds of hellfire and nearly died in a duel over a one-legged ballerina. I called out to you through the dark winter forest of static at the end of the AM radio dial, waking you in the middle of the night from dreams of butterflies, coyotes, wildflowers. If not for the alarm clock pinching my ear with its sharp, bony fingers, I might not have ever made it back.
I was hoping you would do that poem with that, how the billy go get in here.
Next time.
Some with you and go.
Uber doesn't take requests.
I do what I'm told.
But he does include dedications in his manuscript.
That's
so.
true. And acknowledgments. This is simple.
Yeah. Something occurred to me like a couple days ago, and I forgot to mention it like earlier today, that this month is 12 months ago since I started acting as the host of this particular reading. And I just wanted to say that I think that over that time, we've had at least 50 different featured readers from other places around the country. And I just want to thank all of those people, hopefully they listen to this video, like, for coming here, for doing that, for sharing what they do. I think it's pretty phenomenal, especially when we're still in a pandemic, that we've had that many people come here and support this reading. And I just want to say thank you. And it occurred to me that it had been exactly 12 months this month.
Thank you, John Dorsey.
Thanks. And we're gonna keep doing it. I've more or less got the rest of this year booked. We're gonna look at 2023. But with that, I'm just gonna close this evening out with Belle's own former poet laureate and my friend John Clayton, and he will come up here and talk to you. Maybe he'll read some poems, whatever you want to do, John. John Clayton.
Well, I'd say one of the things that distinguishes me from most everybody in here, except maybe Ken, is my age. And thank you guys from Everson for talking about penis poems and blowjobs and cryptocurrency. None of which I've thought about a lot lately.
I don't know, John. Tim is pretty old.
The only thing I can tie in is, I think you talked about combat in one of your poems. So I'm going to use this poem to tie in to that. and then I'll go into some other things. In Vietnam, I served in Vietnam a long, long time ago. When you went, you only had to stay 365 days, so everybody had a short timer's calendar. Like, it was usually a woman, but they divided up into 365 pieces, and each day, when you were in a position where you could, you would mark in the days that you'd been there, so that, you know, and you did it in reverse order. Like day one, you were there, you'd mark out 365, and the next day 364. So every GI knew what your ETS day was. And I tell you that because it makes this point will make more sense to you. It's called good luck, bad luck. Chopper noises all around. Stretchers sitting on the ground. Blood seeping into the dirt. But Jimbo Crenshaw does not hurt. It's been a real hard day. Pain and death are what we pay. Going back to base camp now, with only sadness on our brow. Sitting on MO cases, not worrying about safer places. Don't bogart that joint, my friend. Pass it over here again. Hot, wet, dirty, and tired. We lost a little soul each time we fired. Hollowed eyes, exhausted faces, dink ears on boot laces. Not for God, not for God, not for home, just trying to avoid a cold tombstone. Not for ideas, not for apple pie, just trying not to die. 103 days of luck to go. 213 days of luck to go. 273 days of luck to go. He ran out of luck, old Jimbo. So. Yeah, for my little speech. This is political season for me, and I spent my whole life being in positions, jobs where I really couldn't talk about politics. But I'm no longer there, so I'm just will always say what's on my mind. And one of the things that's on my mind is voting. If you're not registered to vote, no matter where you live, you better get yourself out there and register to vote if you want to have a say. Because if you don't, at least around me, I don't want to hear you say a damn word about what's going on. If you can't vote, you're just too damn lazy to do that. Also, in my old age, you know, I'm pretty old, and I ask why about a lot of things. I'm still trying to figure things out. And so, one of those things that bothers me, which I'm not sure I've ever figured out for sure, is racism. And that's the title of this poem. Everyone struggles with bad thoughts each day. Thoughts they think, but try not to say. Jealousy, anger, and greed, insecurity, nicotine, and things they don't need. I struggle every day to make racism go away and not infect my thoughts and deeds. It's hard. Someone has sown the seeds. I've gone to school, I've learned to read. What a tool. I've lived with other races. I've worked with other races. My intellect tells me racism is wrong. My morality tells me racism is wrong. I see it in others, and yes, sometimes I see it in me. With racism, we can never be free. I fight against it, yet there it is when I least expect it. It mingles its way into my mind. Where does it come from? Is it possible to find? Before 15, I had never met a person from a different race. Not by design, just in place. I suspect my family is responsible. I suspect my community is responsible. I suspect it was imprinted on my brain when I was small. It must have come from attitude and speech that fall on the ears of little people. Maybe it's from family myth, or those good Baptists I grew up with. I know racism when I see it, when I hear it,
when I experience it, race ipsa locally. The thing speaks for itself. I'm ashamed when racism niggles its way into my moments. I'm ashamed when those around me make racist comments. I'm ashamed that people I know are never late to cultivate division, white supremacy, and hate. I recognize that it is my duty to call out hate, to call out racism, division, and of late, to call out friends and family. Knock it off, assholes. This is a piece I wrote during the Trump years. And if you're a Trumper, I don't care if I offend you. I just don't care. I really got sick and tired of these 50 years old or 40-year-old people wanting to tell everybody how to be patriotic and what to do. This is called chest thumpers. To all you chicken hawk bullies who stick out your chests and thump them, pretending you know the cost of freedom, just shut your stinking mouths. You've not earned the right to talk to me about freedom. I fought for this nation. I know the cost of leaving family to go risk your life. I know how it feels to be on the receiving end of automatic weapons fire. You have not earned the right to tell me how to be patriotic. You have not earned the right to tell me not to talk about politics. You have not sacrificed one thing for this nation. You have not lifted one finger to protect freedom. Just shut your stinking mouth. You have nothing to say to me that's worth hearing, except thank you, sir. You may think you can shove this old man around, but that would be your mistake. It's true I'm old. It's true I walk with a cane. It's true that I have to use a handrail on steps. But let me assure you, chicken hawk, my trigger finger works just fine. You will never know when I'm carrying. Don't get in my face, asshole. I might just put a cap in your yellow ass.
Sorry, I forgot that you came in after I mentioned the open mic that you wanted.
Would you like a song?
Yes.
All right, I'll go get my guitar. I'll be right back.
Do I not get to read tonight? What? I thought I was.
What's that?
Are you gonna read
You
again?
take that up with, no, you take that up with Jason. Like,
Speak amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
Take long enough for like a cigarette.
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
Tim, if you brought your guitar,
I know. I know.
I mean, just because you're too big of a sensation now.
Good gracious.
T.R. Kelly.
Or as his friends know him, Tammy Ray Tarkelly.
I guess R. Kelly's going to need somebody to replace him unless he can do the internet stuff from where he's going to be. Not Tim, but R. Kelly.
Right.
That's true.
Oh, that's right. I'm catching it. Tarkelly, yeah. Right. There's a small difference.
Only a small difference.
Yes. Just a smidge.
So you got 2 books that are dropping any day now?
Well, the one for 2T Customs drops on Monday, but I don't actually know who gets copies of it. I know they're coming, but I don't know when. And then the book that I did with Aaron Fine, which is his artwork and my poems about their pandemic poems specifically, that really should be on Amazon by like Monday. And again, I'm not sure when the copies of that will come, but I've got those 2, and then I've got a book coming out in September, and then I've got a full length, a really big full-length book coming out in October. I forget what else. And then, yeah, I'm doing a second 2P Customs thing sometime before the end of the year.
Well, be a subscriber, right?
What's that?
It's not like be a subscriber, I don't know, you're like, oh, I never read the order this, so I don't know what's up.
Yeah, I was supposed to do another book this year with this guy from LA, but I did that little thing and I just did not, it wasn't what I wanted, so I probably won't end up doing the second one.
No, Western Mercury, what's the one with the, I think my copy of Western Mercury didn't have like the stampage stuff on the back like I was talking about. Now I got
Well,
this for me.
it didn't have it because you got it from me. He stamped all of it.
So I was showing John, and he's like, oh, you have other stuff on the back. I was like, well, I got a few.
John, you're continuing to lose weight.
What's that?
You're continuing to lose weight.
Yeah, well, I've lost at least about 40 pounds since the pandemic started. And I was really deathly afraid to get on the scale. And then in April, I got on my friend's scale in Cleveland, and I had at that point lost about, I think like 45 pounds since March of 2020. And
It's a national shame we got a chicken shortage. That's what you see right
No,
Fried
but-
chicken shortage.
Victor posted this video of me the other day from 4th of July, like I think like 3 or 4 years ago, and I just looked terrible. It looked really unhealthy. So I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Well, and you're drinking a couple gallons of water a day too.
I am. Yeah, quite easily. And so right now I'm doing the probiotics and I'm just trying to lose another 20 pounds. That's my goal. I'll still be 20 pounds overweight, but I can handle more.
And you're alive, that's good. That's important.
And you probably feel a little bit better too, don't you?
I generally do feel better. I was having some stomach issues, but since I got on the probiotics, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
So it seemed like everything came at once, and that's the way of the world. Like mine, in this, like late November through December, my wisdom teeth came in,
Oh,
which
kind of late.
no, it's really not. As I found out from my dentist, they
Okay.
can come until you're 80 years old.
Had no idea.
What's that?
I had no idea.
Yeah, they can. But my dentist told me I had enough room for them. And he was somewhat right. When they dropped, like I had room for all of them but one. But the one that was the problem was a big issue.
So John, you just missed out being in the service. They don't even ask you, they just run you in there and take them out.
That's what Tarkelly said. They just automatically do it. And I'll tell you the truth, I wish because I would have done it.
But if you're going overseas, they will. They don't even ask.
Never had the problem. I got one nub, and that's all I've got.
Shoot, I had all 4 of mine pulled at the same time, and one of them they had to dig it out because it was growing sideways out of my jaw. That was very painful.
They can be brutal. I had a couple that didn't come in until after I got out. One of them, they take it out in pieces. They messed it up.
In January, I think this is because of the wisdom teeth and all the pressure. In January, actually, I had 3 teeth fall out.
Oh my goodness.
And thankfully, they came out on their own, and it was fine. But
It was a rough month for you.
yeah. So I hope she comes back with that guitar soon.
She's out there.
She's tuning and talking.
She's hanging out with the hoodlums. The cigarette smokers out on the fence too.
I have nothing to say about my smoke for a long, long time.
Not something I was ever able to successfully accomplish.
I save a lot of money on doing this stuff here.
Well, yeah,
They do it all right for books.
One thing,
I hung out with a lot of smokers. They would offer to let me try their cigarettes, and
I
never felt it.
just want to, I always feel obligated. You're my dad.
All right.
That doesn't like, just saying that doesn't make anything.
Snow is getting me a shot of whiskey.
Oh, God, I hope it's good.
You hope it's good? Wow.
Oh, Big Val, can you tell us who you are and where you're from?
Sure. My legal name is Bernadette Holzer, but my performer name is Beltane Beltaine. Beltane is an Irish festival of May Day. It's a fertility festival. It comes from Scotland, Ireland, England, all over there. That's why Beltane. Wow. Thank you. There's a shot. Thank you, Snow. I appreciated everyone's poetry here this evening. It was heartbreaking and soul-wrenching and not what I expected at all. And so thank you all. It was beautiful, amazing. Every one of you, every single one of you, just absolutely incredible. I didn't expect this. So my nickname is Belle, which I find it sort of not synchronistic, like maybe like serendipitous that I end up in a place called Belle for some reason, and this is my second time here. And I am attracted to this place in a way that I can't explain. But I'm just gonna play you one song. I believe in spirituality. It's my own personal thing, so I don't really like to describe what religion I am because I don't really believe in religion per se. But this is about a goddess. There is a black goddess statue that comes from Montserrat, Spain. And the people, when they discovered this statue, believed that she was Christian, that she was a version of the Virgin Mary or something similar. She was not. She was a goddess, a pagan goddess. And they tried to change the statues by painting them. The paint just flaked off because the statues didn't like it. So I read a lot of otherworldly kind of stuff about fairies and goddesses and things like that. But this is called Black Goddess, and it's one of my favorite songs. And this is the thing that I would like to share with you in return for you sharing everything that you've shared with me tonight. Thank you so much. Whew. Tried to paint me white, don't you know, to mask my sin. To mask my sin. And then one day I found I held a babe within my arms, and you know she was so warm. I promised her right then and there, promised myself also, she'd know no harm. But I am
Alright. So, with that, I would just like to say thank you, and thank you everyone for being here. We will be back here August 20th at 6 p.m. for Darren Dean and Andrew Mulvaney. Thank you guys. It's been awesome. I love you. We're done. Go get drunk. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, but I will see you in a minute. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.